is App Talks. We talk about apps, but it's better when other people are talking in your app or about your app, because guess what? Community matters. We have the K factor. Social is a big deal. So let's talk about how you build that community. And one way you're doing it is with Stream, because I have here Kenzie Wilson. And interestingly enough, and we'll stop it there because you're growth marketer at a company helping apps to grow through community. So I was totally intrigued by that. Where does that come from? Who had that brilliant idea to give you that position?
Oh, I don't know about that. But so we work with apps everywhere, kind of in all different industries to help them grow through communities. It's a major focus within the past 5 years that people, want to be able to grow and bring everybody within the app rather than maybe engaging through Facebook or WhatsApp and things like that. And I have the pleasure of, like you said, being the growth marketer. So I get to come to all these great events, explain kind of what we do, discuss how companies can be creating social engagement within their app. And it's a great opportunity.
And it matters so much. I mean, before, back in the days of data abundance, probably people say, I don't need that. I've got all the data. I've got everything. No, it's not about that. It's about engaging and understanding your audience. So yes, give them a channel, give them a means to communicate, and that will make you sticky. So I want to start with that because it wasn't very long ago that I was talking to companies and there was that debate, we want to have a community. Should we have a community? How do we manage a community? And the whole idea was, it's way too much heavy lifting. We'll just leave it to Facebook. And of course, that is not a sustainable strategy. Turned out to be a fail. But what do you do? How do you go to marketers to get them to understand that they need to have this? This is an asset.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to just use real world case studies almost. So for instance, if you think about Strava, which is a running app, and back in the day, it was a running app. You opened it when you went for a run, you ended your run, and you closed it. And that was it.
Yeah.
And now it's a full-blown community. People even say that they're using it as a dating app. People have running groups. They chat one-to-one with their friends. They share their runs, their achievements, and all that kind of stuff. And now people are opening it throughout the day just like they do with Instagram rather than just when they're going for a run. So I think using those real-world examples is the easiest way. And the numbers don't lie. If you have thousands of people in your Facebook community and you're lacking in engagement on your app, well, how can you get those thousands of people in your app? You bring that community there.
Right. And you're an API, which means that I can build the other stuff. I don't have to worry. Because a lot of things with products is like, how do I make it fit? And this is like, I'm going to make it fit because I am architecting the journey and the environment. It will fit. So we stop the problem of retrofitting, or is it an afterthought? I mean, you can have community as an afterthought, can't you? I mean, if you're a marketer right now, an app owner, app dev, and you're saying, man, wish I had done that. Can one retrofit it fairly simply?
Oh, yeah. Most of our customers are already, have millions of monthly active users, and they're like, oh, wait, we need a place for these people to connect. And so then they add it in there, and it's really easy. There's ways to very nicely and easily introduce it to your users in a way that makes them feel comfortable. They understand why it's there. Oh, now I can chat with my friends. Cool. Again, like you said, it's an API. So really, you can get up and running within a few days, build out a proof of concept and those sorts of things, introduce it to even just your UK market and then expand to the US or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it very seamlessly into a pre-launched app, into a relatively new one, or into a very, old and established app as well.
Does it make that sort of that space for engagement, or does it also help I'm just trying to understand it, because the developer, there's also sort of, in a way, a contract between the developer and the community, that when they are there and they are engaging and speaking and connecting, that it's I wouldn't say a safe place, but at least it is what it says it is. We'll just say it that way. How does that work? How does that make it possible? Because it's more than a space, it's a responsibility.
Yeah, so it's totally flexible, so meaning that apps can integrate it in however way fits their app. And then it's also supported by AI moderation. So like I said, we sell to a plethora of industries. And so for ed tech, it's super important that we're very strict on those AI moderation policies. But maybe for a game, when maybe it's a more violent game. You want to be a little bit more lenient because they're going to be saying certain words that an ed tech company wouldn't want them to be saying. So we've created a super easy dashboard for people to create custom policies based on different harms that they're seeing. But yeah, moderation is a huge thing, protecting all of the users, making it a safe place, making sure there's no scammers or spammers and things like that.
So you work across a number of industries. I mean, I had the pleasure of listening to you do an interview earlier, so that was very cool. And I was listening to it. It was like, it matters. It matters for a real estate company. It matters for all companies. You have the customer relationship. You have the customer touch point. What are some sort of wilder examples of where we wouldn't think this is necessary, or maybe verticals that aren't really understanding and using this to its full potential?
That's a really great question. We serve a ton of different ones, but I think one that we're seeing more and more recently is HR tech companies.
Okay.
So enabling, us, if we were employees together, to be able to chat rather than using something like Slack. They can build their own internal Slack that's much more monitored. Everything is safe. The files that they share are owned by them. They're protected and those sorts of things.
Okay.
So we're seeing a really big increase in that, as well as like field operations. So shift scheduling. We work with a really major airline out of New Zealand, and they, enable the pilot and the grounds crew to chat back and forth with like preloaded messages. So whatever they need to communicate back and forth, it's a very common thing. They communicate the same thing every time. So it's preloaded in there and they can click it when they're ready. So we're seeing very interesting use cases almost every day.
So what is the use case when you come to something like App Promotion Summit, where we are here today? I would think that, engagement, engagement creates stickiness. Stickiness is a way to increase revenues. It's kind of straightforward for me. But then I'm thinking about the industries you're telling me about. There it might be more efficiency. So what is it? Or do you just adapt it to what it needs to be? And you say, okay, here at this group, it's about efficiency, and there it's about engagement. How do you interact with the app dev community at something like this event? Because what is then the value for them? They're not worried about pilots in the air and pilots in the plane, right?
Yeah, it's really hard, to be honest, and we struggle with it. Not struggle with it, but it's something that we always keep in mind when we're marketing, because it really does depend vertical to vertical. For instance, if I'm talking to a telehealth company, they don't really care about engagement. Is it HIPAA compliant? Are the patient and doctor always going to be able to connect? Is it low latency? Is the call going to drop in an emergency and things like that? But for a social app, they're like, well, can they like it? Can they share it? Can they comment on it? So it really does depend. And so I try to, whenever I interact with somebody at these events, my first point is always, what is your app? What is your goal with your app? And what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get people to connect about cooking? Are you trying to get managers to be able to schedule their employees and for them to have chat there? But it definitely changes the entire conversation, and it really depends on what the goal is of either that individual or the company as a whole.
So actually you have an API, but as a company, you also have to sort of, I would imagine, put it in a way that there's not exactly a template, but something for each of these industries, because they're going to have different needs. So how much of what you do is services, and how much of what you do is, meaning the tech, the services? But it seems to me like you'd be doing potentially even more consulting to say, this is how it fits in what you have.
Yeah, our account executives definitely act as consultants when they go into any of these calls. They've worked with so many brands, and a lot of times they've worked with your competitor. And so they can share, maybe what they're seeing in that industry, in that space. For instance, in sports and fitness, we're seeing a lot of live streaming now. Like, people want to go work, they want to work out from home, but they want to join a class. So can you activate live streaming within your platform? And so a lot of the conversations are kind of like that, more discovery, more exploratory. And it's a lot about our AEs being super talented and really in touch with the industry, especially within apps. And it's super helpful on those calls.
So you're also seeing where things are going in communication. I mean, interesting. You talked about live streaming. I saw live streaming come in commerce. That was so cool. You know, it was a live streaming commerce thing.
Yep.
Now it's live streaming in fitness. And live streaming is just part of it. So what are some of the trends you're seeing in how apps can communicate? So we can sort of, you know, open the aperture of how they see where this fits.
If we talk about video first for live streaming, it's definitely, we're seeing a lot of not just live streaming where I'm just watching, but live streaming with the chat. So now I can watch and I can engage with the community at the same time. I can ask questions. I can send GIFs, which is like a new thing for creators. You can send money or whatever. And then also with gaming, a really big thing is audio rooms. You can't be chatting when you're playing a game. You've got your hands are occupied. So being able to talk within a room, not necessarily see them, not see the text or things like that. And then in the chat space, like I said, it's being able to talk in group chats of people with like interest, being able to chat one-on-one, to especially for like dating apps, it's so important to have kind of that one-on-one experience. And then feeds is another one that just drives community all around. I mean, if you look at Instagram, X, TikTok, like they have huge engagement. It's because of their feed. So being able to launch something about, you know, people who hit a high score or where they went to dinner or the recipe that they just tried out is a really great way to drive engagement.
Do you have some data on what drives engagement? I'm just curious because you'll be seeing a lot, all the companies that you work with. Just curious about, you know, what works or realistic uplifts, because we always say, oh, it drives engagement, but is it enough to get really excited about this and get moving on this if you haven't already? So what are some examples? What are some data points to get developers who haven't thought about this thinking about it?
Yeah, we have some really great case studies on our website, and overall we usually receive about 50% uptick in engagement from our customers that are able to report on it. And it all depends, again, on the industry and the use case and how it's introduced to the users. But especially the ones who already have a community, if you already have kind of that cult following of your app, and then you give them a place where they can actually talk to each other, your engagement is going to go through the roof.
And I've heard some interesting examples about why that's really important. It's not just engagement. I was talking to one company and gaming company, and they understood by seeing in the chat what was really exciting about their game in the first place. And so they could understand, well, if that's what they really want, let's give them tons of it, and make certain that that's all very consistent. So it's not always just necessarily the bottom line engagement and that uptick. It's like it gives you insights that you didn't have before. What are some insights that you've gained into community that you've maybe productized or put back into Stream because you saw it and you could therefore think of ways to enable that, empower that, to supercharge it?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite features is custom events. So basically, depending on the app, they can build anything within the chat. So for instance, for Strava, like I've used that example, I could send my run map to my running buddy and say, look at this trail I did today, or something like that. And a telehealth company can build a scheduler right there within the app. And I just find that that's super engaging and it makes it a lot stickier. Because when you're able to do the core functionalities of the app, like scheduling an appointment or something like that within the chat, your users, again, are going to be opening it a lot more. They're going to be coming back into the app.
That's true. You want to have the functionality where you do that work.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to say, oh, yeah, I'll do that there. So I'll get out of the app. I'll go over here. I'll do that. And I'll be right back.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the stickiness comes through giving people the tools to do what they want to do. It's not like you have to even train that behavior. That behavior is already there.
Yeah, 100%.
What about user behavior? What are some of the things that you're seeing in maybe, how we communicate and when and where? Because that's all shifted. We went from a point, I think, where it was like, oh boy, we can share, we can be social. And we went like we were on some sort of drugs. It's like, yeah, we want to share everything. And now it's like, yeah, since I can do everything, I want to do certain things more and certain things less, or, it's just not that new anymore. So what about user behavior and sharing and community? I mean, some people have social fatigue, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a benefit to a lot of the apps because Instagram is social fatigue. You're following everybody's sharing.
Yeah.
But then you go to something that's a little bit more niche, like maybe an app just for readers. And so I know when I go there, like I'm going to talk about my recent book. I can find people who are also reading these books, things like that. So I can really nail down on that one hobby. And then I have Strava for when I'm running. And that's my community for running. And you can get those niche rather than everybody and anybody who's posting a TikTok. So I think it's a really big benefit to the apps that have found that niche.
It reduces the noise.
Yes.
It reduces the stress. I get what you're saying. It's like, you don't always want fire hose social.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just scrolling and it's just really, Then I can think of some social platforms that should have you on the side. It'd be great, to pull it over to the side of it. Where do you see the opportunity for Stream going forward? I mean, specific genres, specific products maybe that are coming, or innovations. I mean, it's about communication. As we as human beings, we're always going to be changing and shifting and improving the way we communicate. So how are you keeping that momentum?
The benefit for us is that the apps keep growing. There's an app coming out every day. They're growing crazy.
That won't stop.
Exactly. So there's always room. And like I said, community is a big thing. So feeds and chat is always something that people are kind of looking for. Video is our newest product, and that's a huge market. It's where we have the most opportunity, especially when it comes to live streaming, live events, and things like that. So we're super, super excited as that product kind of ramps up. And then being able to protect all of our products now with AI moderation, we've invested so much in the past year into that product as well, just kind of makes it what we call a one-stop shop for all of your real-time communication.
I like that. You probably thought about that over there. But it is really true. And it is also important. Moderation is important. It's, we're going to be in these spaces. These spaces are our worlds. And, I won't say like, they have to be safe spaces. I won't say they have to be in a sense that they're not free and open spaces, but you want to understand that when you go in there that it's not leaving that space. Yeah. It's in that space, right? And I think that's really important. Yeah. Speaking of communication, it's been great to communicate with you, Kenzie, learning about this. I can see that you're putting a lot of thought into how to bring communication to all the apps, and ultimately they should, because every app is a community. You have users. You can have a community, and you've shown that can be pretty simple to do. So thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.